The survival of one of the Pacific Northwest's most iconic species now hangs in the balance, caught between the concrete of the past and the hope of a resilient future. Let me explain. For many years, people have appreciated the 4 dams on the lower Snake River for its hydroelectric power, transportation systems, and water for agricultural use. These 4 dams, the Ice Harbor, Lower Monumental, Little Goose, and Lower Granite, have been in place since the 1970s when they were first built by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. However, this has become a deep-rooted conflict. Is the cost of keeping the dams in place higher than the benefits they provide? Since the dams were built, we have seen a 90% drop in salmon populations in Washington state. The dams prevent salmon from swimming out to the ocean and back up again to lay their eggs. This, in turn, affects the southern resident orcas who rely on salmon for food. Not only does this negatively affect the environment, it affects us as well. We rely on salmon for sustenance, and they bring in economic gains. Another aspect of this controversy is the impact on indigenous tribes. A treaty signed between the U.S. government and several tribes in the Pacific Northwest in 1855 secured fishing rights for tribes such as the Nez Perce. The dams have taken away this right and have significantly impacted their cultural ties to the river and the salmon themselves. These dams also have high maintenance costs, and as they get older, that price continues to increase. The dams also prevent people from accessing parts of the river and their natural spaces for recreation and tourism, like fishing. I've asked Washington State residents for their perspective on the topic. I asked resident Katie Coates what she thought was one of the most important impacts of the dams.
And humans present. The loss of salmon to the environment, to the ecology of upstream is huge. Like you're taking something out of not just the food web, but also the entire ecosystem.
Resident Lila also had some concerns. She's specifically concerned about the broken treaty and the effect on indigenous people.
And then just like the broken treaties and effect on indigenous populations, I think really is a big problem, especially because we have the ability to fix it, even if what's done is done in the past, which like awful things happened. And so the fact that we're still continuing to disrespect the people that were here before us is a big problem.
Yeah, definitely. I also spoke with resident Alan on his thoughts about salmon. Environmental effects aside, would you say that salmon and orcas have a cultural significance to the people of the Pacific Northwest?
Yes, I think so. They certainly are in all of the cultural symbols in the Pacific Northwest, especially for the Native Americans. And it's something that we talk about all the time. So yes, I think so.
This seemed to be a common consensus. Many residents said that salmon and orcas had a cultural significance to them and the people of the Pacific Northwest.
Absolutely, yes, yes. Yeah, I've been seeing it a lot lately, hearing a lot about it too, because we bought property down there by the Nisqually Reach, and there's a Nisqually tribe there, and they've been talking about a bunch of stuff going on, and they're going to be doing some like some celebrations and stuff, and it's really cool. And they're talking about the effects, the negative effects, and then some of the really cool things that they get to celebrate as well. Yeah.
I asked residents, if given a choice, would you vote to breach the dams or keep the dams in place or something in the middle? And I got some different opinions.
Floodwaters. I think if we could find some way to allow salmon, like fish ladders and that kind of thing, allow salmon to move through there, I think that would be best. If we couldn't do something like that, find a good solution, I think a long-term shift away from power and dams would be good, but we'd have to have a way to replace the power.
When I talked to resident Katie, she had a similar opinion as well.
Well, ideally, we could do something in between. Like, I don't actually know how dams work, But could we take out half of the, you know what I mean? Like, it'd be
Yeah.
nice if we had a more area. I mean, if I had to choose between taking them out or leaving them, I would take them out. I think that would be the second best choice. We have removed dams in the state of Washington with quite success, quite good success. And the Elwha Dam on the Olympic Peninsula.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's so tempting to use the Columbia River and the Snake River because there's so much water there, but like I do feel like that there's some compromise.
When talking to residents Summerjoy and Lily, they said that they would vote to breach the dams.
I would vote to breach the dams. Yeah.
If presented with an option, would you vote to keep the dams in place, or would you vote to breach the dams?
I would vote to breach the dams.
As you can see, residents of Washington State care a lot about this issue, even if there are a lot of conflicting opinions. While it would be best to breach the dams, residents say that they would compromise for an in-between option if they weren't able to breach the dams in the near future. It's important to get involved with these issues, even if you aren't sure or don't know too much about the topic. Do what you can to learn more about this topic, and please vote.